Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Jeff Grammer with the Albuquerque Journal, and welcome to episode 107 of the Talking Grammar podcast. Got an interesting one today. NBA Finals is upon us, right, this week, and Indiana Pacers forward Pascal Siakam is a New Mexico State graduate. Wasn't able to get Pascal Siakam on the podcast this week, but I did call out to reach out to Marvin Menzies, the former New Mexico State University coach, recruited Pascal from Cameroon to New Mexico State, was there for 3 years, played for 2, and, he saw a star in the making, obviously, but as he points out, Pascal made it happen. He did the work. He put in the work, and he keeps developing year after year. Even in the NBA, he keeps getting better and better. He won a championship already with Toronto, has a chance to win another one with Indiana. Now, the Pacers are a big underdog to Oklahoma City. As I record this is Tuesday morning, June 3rd. I recorded the interview with Marvin Menzies late last night, so I appreciate Marvin for doing that. The former New Mexico State coach had a ton of success, obviously, with the Aggies. A lot of WAC championships, be it regular season or tournament, a lot of NCAA tournament appearances. And then he moved on to UNLV. He was there for 3 seasons, and now he's coaching Kansas City, the Roos. And we talked a little bit about that as well. So much appreciative of Marvin for taking the time to do that from his home in Kansas City. And I do think you're going to enjoy this one and hearing about the early days, the early basketball days anyway, of Pascal Siakam as the NBA Finals are upon us. If you enjoy this, please let me know. Reach out to me, ggrammer@abqjournal.com is my email. You can get me on social media too, but also check out a lot of our other podcasts at the Albuquerque Journal Podcast Network. Got a lot of them running now. A lot of content that isn't appearing just in that print edition of the Albuquerque Journal or online in Albuquerque Journal. A lot of stuff on these podcasts, either be it video or be it audio. However you're enjoying this, I'm glad you're here enjoying it. And right now, let's take a quick listen to podcast editor Gino Gutierrez about that podcast network.
If you enjoy our podcast, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all of our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. See the show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading news.
Thank you, Gino. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Without further ado, let's get to it. Marvin Menzies, coach of the Kansas City Roos, but former coach of the New Mexico State Aggies, on his time recruiting and coaching Indiana Pacers star Pascal Siakam. Marv, what's up, man? It's been a long time since you and I talked, man. How you doing?
Been too long. You're one of the media guys I actually like.
There are a couple in the world, I guess. That's good. Yeah. I think it's obviously you're now doing your thing in Kansas City. I want to say the last time I spoke with you, it was probably still the UNLV days, and I'll tell you what, that was a few years back, and I think I remember you saying you were about to hang it up.
Yeah, we had a stretch there where I thought we were going to turn the corner, but new AD, new president, that's usually the writing's on the wall there. I'm actually still really tight with the president that hired me there. But, I didn't want to get back in unless I found a situation like this where my boss, Dr. Brandon Martin, is like, we're partners trying to, turn this thing. And I wanted to kind of go out, on my own terms and be a little more impactful, find a job that I felt like if we turned it, we'd be like, hey, that guy can coach, and he can still get some players, and it's a good deal. Now the landscape's changed, but nonetheless, I'm excited about this year's team, and I'm looking forward to the next journey. I'll tell you what. One other thing, Jeff, is we had an opportunity to start an academy. I founded an academy when I was out in Lagos, Nigeria, an academic athletic academy out there. That's
right. I remember that.
Yeah, it's been killing. It's doing a great job, and we're educating guys and putting them in great positions to, for future success. And then my mom and I had a chance to spend together like 6 months And, as a coach, you don't get that quality time. So we had 6 months before she passed that I would have paid millions of dollars to, have that. So, yeah. So, God knows what he's doing, man. even when you may feel bad about stuff, it's like, all right, what's the purpose here?
Yeah, not everybody gets to sort of do it the way you're doing it, where you found that right situation and you weren't necessarily jumping back in because you wanted to keep it going. You jumped back in because it was the right situation for you.
Right fit. Yeah, this is the higher you go as a coach in this profession, the dynamics change about why you got into coaching. I didn't get into coaching to be, this Hall of Fame guy. I just wanted to develop some young men and, be impactful in their lives and see if I could help them along this journey, moving from young man to man. And then next thing you know, I was blessed with like a really cool career. And now to be settled back into kind of what I started out with, which is we just sent a kid to UCLA, who we had 2 years with. He had, I think, one other offer, and he's got a great deal over there. So him and his whole family just came by. I'm probably one of the few coaches in the country that celebrates and hangs out with the kids that are leaving.
Well, it's a unique situation too, because this is the new reality. And as a coach, as a program, you don't want to, I guess, for lack of it'll be my phrase, not yours, be a feeder program or be a minor league, but you can also celebrate, and you can also probably tout yourself a little bit as look, man, we develop players that then are wanted by schools that weren't recruiting them 2 years ago or 1 year ago. And there's something to be said for that. It's not that you want to go advertising, come to us for 1 year and then move on.
Right.
But there's something to be said for developing kids that are then coveted by schools that weren't recruiting them 2 years ago.
I'm really, really proud of the way we've handled this new climate. I hear all these coaches whining and complaining about, this can't go on forever. And, they're paying these kids and this. Like, well, what if it was your son and he can get $1 million? You still going to be complaining? Right. You got to look at the environment that we're in and just say, okay, all right, how do I adjust? What's the creativity that I have to use to put a roster together now? We always preach that to our players, like, hey, this is, iron sharpens iron, and during adversity is where you grow, and all these cliches and phrases. But then I listen to all these coaches just complaining. I'm like, okay, dude, didn't you just tell your players to figure it out? Well, that's what I did. I figured it out, and I embraced it. My wife, Tammy, kind of got me going like, hey, all right, what are we going to do different? I'm like, yeah, what are we going to do different?
Well, you're a smart man. You know better than most that a happy wife is a happy life. So I'm glad she's been, on board with the moves you've made and all the stuff you've been able to do, because she's been by your side for as long as I remember. I guess I'll put a bow on this intro before I talk to you about what I want to talk to you by asking you this. Mm-hmm. How good is Kansas City going to be this year? Do you guys have a squad, or do you even?
I think we're going to be good.
Do you even know yet?
No, well, yeah, you're right about that. But on film, I'm pretty impressed with the guys. The recruiting process, the character of the guys, the you know who they look like? They look like an old New Mexico State team.
Nice.
We got a couple 7-footers. We got a 6'10" kid. We got some really athletic, long Daniel Mullins looking guys. I got a Wyndham McKinnis with me as well. So yeah, I'm excited, man. I don't know how that's going to fit in the Summit, because it's one of the most prolific offensive conferences in basketball. But I feel like defensively we're going to be strong, and I feel like we're going to be able to put the ball in the bucket. So it should be a fun year. I'm looking forward to it.
You mentioned New Mexico State. Obviously, that is where I first met you, as you were a New Mexico State coach, and I, through the years, a lot of big teams, a lot of size, a lot of talent came through there. And frankly, I would tell people that you mentioned McKinnis. I thought he was a guy that might have got a chance at that level, at the NBA level. But the one guy who shined for sure, and is shining right now more than most, is Pascal Siakam, who started for you for 2 years. I guess was he with you 3 years? Did he redshirt a year?
He did. We do a lot. I do a lot of things that aren't necessarily the status. I look at guys and I go, okay, well, in this situation, he was long, he was athletic. His skill set wasn't nearly as developed as it should be. His perimeter game wasn't. Now Now he could run and he can catch the ball and he could dunk and do those kind of things, but he wasn't a complete player by far when he got here. And so when we brought him in that first year, they had some stuff going on where we were able to have guys, the old, what was it, like almost like the Prop 48 deal, where it was, you don't lose a year. And so we did that. And the next year, he's freshman of the year. The next year after that, I'm like, hey, man, we might want to test these waters,
Well, I pulled up his stats, and I mean, I remember him having a good year. But I guess maybe more as the years have gone on and I realize what these stats really are.
Yeah.
20 and 11. Really 20 and 12 is 11.6 rebounds. You rounded up to 12. Like, he was averaging 20 and 12.
Well, we had a great coaching staff. I'd love to take credit for it all, but we did get some stuff from Coach Pitino as far as how we develop that I stole from Coach, and we separate the individual skill development from practice. So a guy like that can really flourish, because that's when you become a pro, is when you have the coaches down there and they're working on your mechanics and they're working on your form and your technique, and every rep is getting criticized and constructively, and we're actually teaching at a higher level instead of just saying, okay, guards down there and bigs down there. It was an opportunity, and we do it all year long. So we don't stop that when the season begins. We do individuals separate from practice all year long, which I got from Coach Pitino. And now we've enhanced it a little bit by adding a lot more video. We didn't do this with Pascal. I do have some pretty cool video of him, though, but when he was probably about 106, 65, 70 pounds. But, and it's funny, I show my current recruits some of that stuff that we did with him. Like Keith Brown would be down there working with him. We show him, okay, when you catch the ball in the paint, that's the scoring area. So you're going to go straight to your shot. And then you're right off, you're in the pending area. So you're going to quarter turn. And then if you get more than 3 feet off, you're going to be in what we call the pitch or the pro post area. So then you turn and you face up. And it's funny, man, we had clips, Jeff, where we literally were teaching him that. Then he did it in college. And then that first year with Kawhi, or it was actually his second year, he was mostly in junior.
Yeah, second year.
He actually, all that stuff transitioned with him. So naturally, he was just doing those things. So I felt really good about, putting the people around him and putting the model around. But I wasn't on the floor grinding with him in all of those workouts. That was my whole staff.
Well, I want to get to that, and I want to back up to how you got him, how you discovered him, how he discovered you, the identifying of this recruit who was raw talent, had a lot of talent, but you guys had to do what you just said. How did you first find him?
A friend of mine had actually helped him navigate to the U.S. Okay. He was with a prep school for, I think, just a year there. It might have been 2. It's been a while now. I can tell you what happened last week. I don't know about that far back, though. But so then that guy was, we were really close. And so the next thing you know, it was like, okay, we watched him. And I had some guys that were close in that area, Gerald Lewis and some other guys worked him out. And they were like, man, he's going to be good, Marv. You got to take him. And so obviously, because of the relationship, we were able to transition him to New Mexico State. He did a year as a redshirt there, and he really improved in that year not playing because he could train and lift and build his body and all of that stuff. Interesting story about, I think, what propelled him, Jeff, to the next level. He has some brothers, 3 brothers, Chris, Boris, and James, and they had all played Division I basketball. And his dad, I remember being with his dad in Dakar, actually, went out and visited his family and stuff. And I remember his dad, like, talking about just, he's yours, just get him as good as he can be, and then his dad passed.
It's a big part of anybody's life, but it really, he still talks about it, that was a motivation, a life-changing thing for him.
Everybody needs something to grab onto to maybe get through those tough days or those aches and pains, or saying no to the temptations that might be in front of you. And that was his. It was unequivocal that he was going to try to do everything he could to achieve his father's dream of one of the guys making it. And they had his brothers could go, like those guys could play, you know. But I remember he couldn't go home to the funeral and the services because there was some things still in flux with school and a whole bunch of moving parts. But you know, I remember we sent him to be with his sister and some family. I think it was in DC. But when he came back from that, he was a different dude, man. Like
just laser focused.
He was a different dude. Now he was still very much a team guy. He was still very much like, I know he's friends with, you know, a bunch of those guys from back in the day. But life goes on, and now he's just put himself in a position to do way more than his family than maybe he ever dreamed of. And I'm sure his dad is looking down and just is beaming with pride and joy. I know his mom's in the country now. I haven't had a chance to see her since she's been here. It's been here a while now. But, you know, and Pascal and I are, you know, I have nothing but love for him. I text him every once in a blue moon and check in. But he's got a different life now, man. I remember at one point he was I was talking to Tammy about it. I was like, you realize, honey, he's probably the most popular man in the country of Canada. Like it was after Kawhi had just left, and then he struck that new deal.
Yep.
I mean, that was Canada's team, you know. So we're actually going there for a international tour this year. But and I got a bunch of former players, Tanvir Bullard, Tyrone Watson, and Daniel Mullins, and I'm going to see all those guys back there. Ronaldo Dixon, Ernst LaRoche, they're all there. Like we're going to have a big reunion there in Toronto.
I was gonna say you can run the 12. You got 12. You got a roster.
That could be one of our games. That back there for sure. Playing the Menzies alumni group. But so those and all those guys are actually helping us, you know, put the event together out there. So it's kind of cool. Just having that connection. But the point I was going to make is that I'm just so happy for him. My job was not to be his agent or his manager. My job was to just put him in the best framework and support and development structure so that he could grow. And I think, you know, obviously it's worked out well for him, but it's not because of us. It's he's put in the work, man.
Mike Brown, Elijah Brown's father, was out of basketball in the 2016 year. That was his sophomore year. Mm-hmm. And I got to know him a lot because as I was traveling around to cover the Lobos, he was traveling. We're on some of the same flights because he was watching Elijah everywhere. I remember him going down to Cruces. It was at the game in Las Cruces that I talked to him and said, hey, I'm not going to put anything in your mind, anything in your head at all. I said, after this game, though, remind me. I want to ask you what you think about the Siakam guy who's starting to get buzz. And I know I can't remember if that year the Lobo Aggie game was already in the pit first and then Cruces second. But I remember speaking to an agent at a different Lobo game, and he was telling me about how much he liked Pascal Siakam down in Las Cruces. And I said, all right, I'm going to keep an eye out.
Right.
Well, I asked Mike Brown, and Mike Brown said unequivocally he knew he could see it in one game. He could see that there was NBA potential there. I'm curious when you thought, you know, maybe you see some potential if this turns out this way with this recruit or that recruit. Right. You might see it in a bunch of players, but there's a point when you realize, no, this is real. It can happen.
It was a series of moments, to be quite honest with you, Jeff. When he first came, he was not an NBA player off of what we saw and what he had. The package he brought he wasn't even close. He would be a little chippy. I remember KB and some of those guys would jump on him in practice. He'd get a little attitude, and I was like, all right, is this guy going to adjust to the, you know, really wanting to be coached and things like that? And by God, he did. And then as he became more and more of a sponge is where you saw the development. That's one of the good things sometimes about taking a young man who didn't grow up playing at a high rate. You know his story, but their upside its ceiling is a lot higher when they start a little bit later because of, you know, obviously the physical attributes of still being really healthy with good knees and all of that stuff.
There's just a stage of a bunch of stages in your mind that you still have to unlock.
No
when you're playing for 5 years, and you might have hit that 5-year mark, you know, when you were 10 or 12. He didn't hit it till he was probably 20.
I think Jeff, to bring it a little bit more crystallized, I think we played Baylor at Baylor.
Okay.
I think we played Wichita State, And so when we went against some big boys, you know, actually, it was ironically, Van Fleet, I think, was on that team, and I forget the guard's name. They had a really good big too.
Didn't they have Ron Baker? I think
Baker, yeah, he was. And it's watching him go against, you know, Power 5 type guys. I was like, okay, we got a special one here, you know.
Yeah.
And after the sophomore year, it was just, man, we got to test the water, so to speak. And I thought he was going to test it and do really well and get some good feedback, and then maybe come back another year.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of friends that gave me insight of guys that I've been coaching for 44 years now. So I had some dudes in the league that were my boys that said, yeah, man, this is that. And then he had a great agent, has a great agent. Todd Ramasar did a phenomenal job for him throughout the process and just making sure he kind of navigated to the right team and then put in the right environment. It just, it's a Cinderella story, man, of a young kid who was going to be a priest, I think, at 15. And next thing you know, he's, going to 2 NBA finals, all-star, already won a championship. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I saw him on, and just won Eastern Conference MVP, finals MVP. I saw him on Inside the NBA after, I guess it was game 4. Charles Barkley, I mean, it's even surreal just saying this. Charles Barkley's interviewing him after a game, right?
Right.
And Barkley asked him, how good could you be? How many points could you score if they ran one damn play for you? And he said, he kind of laughed a little bit and said, I don't know, but that's not who we are. He said, I'll do whatever we need to do. And we're pretty good right now when I'm doing what I'm doing, which is them not running any plays for me. And he just kind of fits in and does his thing without them running many plays for him. And he just, that was his answer was, that's not who we are. So,
and it's not who he is either. He was never, I mean, even with us, he just did what we asked him to do based off of the skill set that he was excelling in at that time. But we were still working on 3-point shooting and all those things in the skill development stuff. But in the games, I think in his sophomore year, we let him, start to shoot a couple because his stats were pretty good in the practice sessions. But no, he's a winner. He approaches this thing, and I think he learned a lot when he was the man and all that pressure that was on him when Kawhi left. Yeah. He was still relatively young in his career, and he just learned how to blank things out, and he learned how to just bring it back home and stay rooted, stay in his faith, I'm sure, and that's, at the end of the day, man, that's what it's all about. Because everything else is just gray noise. If it's the media's got to do what they got to do, social media's got to do what it's got to do. But you just got to be the guy that you are. And he's more of a piece. He's more of a championship piece in my mind than he is that go-to guy who's just going to go get you a bucket. He'll go get it, but he's going to go get it with how basketball's supposed to look.
And there's some great championship teams through the years that had a great piece, right? Yeah. And I think sometimes people, probably a lot of players, don't want to think of themselves a lot of times as a piece. They want to think of themselves as that go-to, the man.
That's the
ego. Man, you can be a piece, and you could be as good as he is right now, and he's getting paid just fine.
No,
he's winning some games.
What are you, a double max guy now? I don't know what he is. I don't know how much he's making. I'm just really, really happy for him and his family. And I played a very small role, and I'm getting, every time he goes to a final or he has a great season or a great game, my phone's blowing up.
But I bet it's been blowing up the past week or so.
Oh, you have no idea. Like, the guys are taking pictures of their TVs and then sending me the texts and so forth, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just happy to have played. And Keith Brown and I mentioned Keith again, and we were just talking the other night about. And I said, hey man, have you talked to him lately? He says, nah, Marv, I just, he's just doing his thing, man. He said, I was just happy that we had that we did our job, and nothing's ever perfect, but it was a pretty good time here not here, but at New Mexico State. It was a pretty good run for us as a team. I thought that he did some incredible things while he was there. But to get back to your original question, there was never a singular moment Jeff, it was a series of incremental growth moments where you go, whoo, whoa, and you just keep going, and then all of a sudden it was like, yeah, he might be able to get drafted this year. You know?
Well, I can understand that too, because since he's been in the league, he's still had those incremental kind of growth. Like, I think he's so much better right now, even than when he won his first championship, and then when he was the man when Kawhi left. I think he's actually, even though Tyrese Halliburton is getting a lot of the love there, and he's running the point, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think he's a better player right now than he's ever been. I think he's at his best right now still.
He's that's how it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
If you don't keep growing, then you're just getting older. But if you have life experience and you mature from it, well, then at every day in the future, you should be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
If you really think about it. And right now, I honestly think basketball wise, he's the best version of himself. And I think that there's still more. I mean, there's more. I'm sure he's taking care of his body. He was never a smoker, drinker. He was always had a kind of a jovial focus. Like, he was a team guy, and he would joke and say, you know, he'd get the guys together. Hey, let's get it popping. You know, and he would have some fun with the guys. But when it was go time, man, it was laser focus. And he just, I think over the years, just has figured out that, like, hey, I'm good, but I can even be better. And he's never, I don't think he's ever settled, you know. It's that's that hungry. I think he's got I forget the name of his brand thing. I'm drawing a blank, but he's got the P and the S, and it's like, humble and hungry, or stay humble, stay hungry, something like that. But that kind of really is who he is. I mean, the dude is he's wired different, bro. He's wired different.
I would I'll kind of wrap this up with this. To have him succeed the way he has to help a coach. Like, again, you don't get into it for what he's now doing and all that. You get into it to help, you know, young players become the best version of themselves and all that. But man, when you have a guy do what he did, it certainly validates all the work you're doing with all these other players, I would think, and it kind of reminds them that in those tough moments when maybe, you know, they're like, oh, coach is on me, you know, or something. I would think that having a guy who's done what he has done sort of validates your process with all these young players now.
It does. Unfortunately, there's a lot of coaches who haven't had a Pascal that have also done it the right way, right?
Yeah, they're fine too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it is what it is. I love the fact that he was able to buy his mom a house and, you know, keep his brothers. They have a very tight circle, you know.
Yeah.
So the family piece of it to me is the part that I'm really happy to see, especially with the, you know, having his father transition to heaven so early in his life. I'm just overjoyed that he's having a great career. I will tell you this also, as you referenced, it kind of validates how we operate. We've had this is the first time in my career, 13 new players this coming season. Okay, as you know, the scholarships are at 15. So we had two guys, Jason Petty and Kasheem Grady. I call them Petty Cash. You know, Petty Cash is back. We got a little extra coming back, but 13 new guys. Think about that, Jeff. Like, so that's why we're taking this trip to Canada. Right when they get here, we're not even going on the floor. We're doing bonding stuff, and we're doing some really cool things when they've all first come to town on the 22nd. And we're scripting life differently than what we used to do, because the landscape's different. You can't keep driving you're not going to drive a Mercedes up the mountain if it's
you're still growing.
Low, sedan. You gotta be ready to adjust, brother. So that's what we're doing, man. We're having a blast. You know, we reminisce a lot. You know, I know Paul Weir is not the most loved individual in Las Cruces, but I love him. And, you know, we talk from time to time. He had a chance to go back and see, because I couldn't make it. Tammy and I were going to go back when Daniel Mullins got put into the Hall of Fame. And then we had Ernst in the Hall of Fame, and Wendell's been in the Hall of Fame now. So, you know, the school at the university. So, like, that to me is more of a, like, yeah, we did it right. I mean, we won 8 championships in 9 years.
going to be hard to match that.
Either conference tournament or rec. That was a heck of a run, man. I look back now, I got those posters all up in my office here in Kansas City, and I'm like, I kind of let the guys know subliminally, like, yeah, I want to get one of those. Who knows? This could be the year. We'll see.
Well, I appreciate you for doing this, and obviously with him in the NBA Finals, do you watch much NBA basketball? Will you watch some of his games?
Oh, I watch his, but I'm not a huge NBA fan. Just for a lot of different reasons. I'm a college guy. I'm a player's coach. I help them way more than basketball. I give them more. I'm more invested into the making sure. I don't know if you know the name Mokhtar Diop. You know who that is? Probably never heard of him. You remember him?
With his last name with the D, right? It's
Diop.
Diop. Yeah.
He was like a walk-on for us, and then we ended up giving him a
scholarship. Brother?
No. Well, no. He has a brother, but he's still in Senegal. Okay. No, it's a popular. It's like Smith in the car. Okay, but the reason I bring him up is because like Mokhtar. Nobody. If you maybe in Las Cruces, some people remember him, but Mokhtar is like one of my largest success stories. He leaves. He graduates from New Mexico State. He's number one at Ernst & Young for like 2 years running. He goes back home to make his community great. He starts a killer company. He's doing awesome. I'm going to see him in August when I go back to. I do clinics over there now in Lagos and Dakar and Ivory Coast. We'll do another one there this year for the coaches. And he's just, man, like he sent me a picture the other day with his kids are so big right now, and he's got a beautiful wife, and so that's why I coach. That's why I coach. You can get lucky and get a Pascal. That's great. That's awesome. But that's for the world. That's the sexy, right? That's the dude. That ain't
for a much smaller circle, probably.
Come on, man. We don't impact. My mom always said you're either a giver or a taker, and I was raised by givers. And so I didn't need to win it at UNLV. About a week after we left UNLV, I just was like, all right, God, what's next? Because this, my plan wasn't his plan, right? And then I get the chance to spend the time with my mom to open the academy. So I got like nothing but great things to say about Pascal, great things to say about Mokhtar. Yeah. And I talk to Wendell McKinnis, I'm not kidding you, 4 times a week. Nice. Nonstop, I talked to Tanvir Bular today. Like, I can't even tell you, man. It's just, I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be. I don't care what the landscape looks like. My silo is good. Cool.
I'll tell you what. We'll see how much. Now that I'm here with the Albuquerque Journal and covering the Lobos primarily, we'll see how much all this ag talk is gonna make me, the next most hated guy in town because. There's a lot of Aggie talk going on right now, but that's good, man. That's he being in the finals kind of opened this, but I'm glad it gave me a chance to say, I gotta reach out to Marvin and see how things are going with him too. So I'm glad you responded, man.
Nah, I saw just a quick story, and I know you got to sign off here probably pretty soon, but I saw your email, and I have you on speed dial still, so I saw your email. I was like, Jeff, what's up, man? How you doing? You were one of the guys. I always thought you were very fair in how you treated me, with even amongst that arch rival, environment. I always thought you were just solid, man. I think you really work hard at what you do. You grind. There's a guy here you actually remind me of. His name is Steven St. John, and he's like a local guy. You guys actually favor each other a little bit, but it's good to have guys in your profession that you just know are just doing their job, but they're doing it with some integrity and not bias and hate and stuff. And you're one of the good ones, brother. So you can call me anytime, brother. You can call me anytime. I
appreciate you saying that. All right, I'm gonna check in and see how you guys do this year. I'm gonna see how Petty Cash does. I'm gonna see how the 13 newcomers do, and we'll see if down the road one of these guys is my next podcast with you when they're winning NBA championships.
100%. I'd love to see it.
Barb, I appreciate you for doing this. Thank you so much.
You're the best, Jeff. You take care, brother.
You too, man. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you again to Marvin Menzies for doing that, for being a part of this podcast, episode 107 now. Can't believe it's already at 107, but here we are. If you did enjoy it, if you had any thoughts about that or thoughts about future shows, reach out to me. ggrammer@abqjournal.com is my email address. You can get me on social media anytime at Jeff Grammer. Remember, I spell my name weird. It's GeoffGrammer. So you can get me on Blue Sky. You can get me on Instagram, and you can get me on X, formerly known as Twitter, of course. Anytime. I'm on Twitter way too much, so you can get me pretty much anytime you want there. Let me know what you think about this show. Let me know what you think about all the other shows. And if you have show ideas, show suggestions, or advertising inquiries, reach out to me. ggrammer@abqjournal.com is the email again. And thanks again for watching. Thanks again for listening. Thanks for joining me in my back patio, in my backyard here on June 3rd, a couple days before the NBA Finals. And should be a fun one. Let's enjoy the finals while we can. And before you know it, college football is going to be here in a couple more months, and then we got college basketball right around the corner. So things are shaping up to be a pretty good season. I think an exciting season for both New Mexico State and for the UNM Lobos. So thanks again for watching. Until next time, thanks, guys.